So as we continue our conversation about what the week before his death was like for Jesus, I want to focus our attention on what happened just after he had that last meal with his disciples. He took them to one of his favorite places to go to, especially when he wanted to pray, the Garden of Gethsemane on the Mount of Olives. It was this hill just outside the city. And I imagine that as they're getting there, the sun is just starting to set around the hills of Jerusalem. And when they arrive, he takes 3 of his closest friends with him to pray. And he turns to them and says, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death." It seems that as the darkness was creeping around the hills outside of him, it was also creeping up inside of him too. And the text tells us that he was deeply distressed and troubled. Jesus in this moment is going through something really emotional and really deep. And he turns to his closest friends and asks them for support in the midst of it. He lets them know where he's at emotionally. And then he turns to his Father in prayer. And he asks God, if there is any way, take this cup from me. Yet not what I will, but what you will. In this garden scene, it seems that Jesus himself is experiencing what it's like to be so overwhelmed with sadness that you don't even want to be alive anymore. And still in the midst of that, in the midst of knowing that an armed mob is on its way to arrest him because he's already been betrayed by one of his closest friends, still he trusts his Father's plan. And I don't know about you, but I find it really comforting to know that even Jesus experienced some of this stuff. Like when we turn to God in prayer, we're not turning to a God who doesn't get it. We're turning to a God who's been through it himself, who's been so sad and so distressed that he doesn't know if he wants to go on anymore. That's the kind of God that we have.